Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this meltdown over the holidays, at least according to one source.
Going back to Cardell Smith's filing, his notice says that Jennifer Lynn Lopez, aka J-Lo, aka Jenny from the Block, quote, will be called as a material witness and expert to Sean Combs' viewing, possession, and distribution of a sexual assault on the plaintiff in 1997, and the orders of defendant Sean Combs forcing Jennifer Lopez to remain silent about the videotaped sexual assault plaintiff by defendant.
According to legal experts, Jay-Z is attempting to keep Diddy quiet in light of the most recent lawsuit against him, which heightens the drama surrounding the hip-hop mogul. According to Diddy, he was found crying in his cell after getting into a fight in prison, expressing fears of being poisoned.
A report from the Daily Mail, that's why Diddy had a breakdown. A person close to him apparently said, quote, spending the holidays behind bars was a nightmare for him. If we're to believe all this, Diddy had a meltdown in his cell and begged the guards to take him to the hospital for observation, but they refused. This same friend or person told the Daily Mail, quote, he eventually managed to calm himself down with the meditation technique he's been using while he's been behind bars. It took him a few hours of deep breathing and focusing to get out of the bad space he was in, but he finally managed it. This isn't the first time Diddy's mental health has come into question while he's been at MDC. When he first arrived, he was on Suicide Watch, which the U.S. Department of Justice National Institute of Corrections describes as supervisory precautions taken for inmates that require frequent observation. Diddy's watch was only temporary, though. He was housed in a special protected unit of the jail after that for the first few weeks of his stay. But Diddy right now is in Gen Pop, meaning general population, the place where majority of the inmates stay. And that's where he apparently had this meltdown over the holidays, at least according to one source.
The millionaire and well-known public personality Jennifer Lopez has been designated as a material witness and will testify regarding her observations during their time together. This is making matters worse since, according to sources, everyone Diddy reportedly surreptitiously filmed is now against him. Diddy's cooperation with federal authorities could lead to the exposure of some of the country's most influential people, which could have a significant impact on a number of different industries.
So breaking news right now, Larry, I am just getting word. People Magazine says it's got a source on the inside that tells them that P. Diddy's on watch tonight. Do your sources confer the same information? Are they saying it was possible?
Hey, real quickly, all that commissary stuff, he's not getting any of that because people in the shoe have an abbreviated list. So he's out of luck. No mistake for him. Yeah, he is on watch. This guy thought he would have went home. All of a sudden, he didn't get bond. Remember, the first night that he was there, he was like an overnight guest. When they told his bond hearing, now they checked him into the system, and reality has hit him. And I understand that he has a shrink coming by his cell to see him several times a day. And now there's talk about putting him in, it's like a bubble. It's like a cell that has like a plexiglass wall in it, where they have inmates watching you. That's actually their job, to keep an eye on the inmates that are on watch. Another error is I don't know warden told me this. There are sentenced inmates there. They're called cadre inmates. They don't have to be white-collar inmates, but they're doing maintenance on the building. And the problem why there's a lot of violence there is they have housing units. And they're mixing bank robbers, dealers, rapists with white-collar people. And this is why Diddy, he can't go into a regular housing unit because somebody will take him out for sure. Somebody's going to get a lot of street credibility out of this. People that are doing substantial time that know they're never getting out. They'll just kill the guy. No questions asked.
You think that they'd suck up to him because he's got a lot of money, and if he ever does get the commissary options, he would be able to help them.
Some people do. Because
I gotta wrap it real quick.
Okay, some people do think that Diddy can help him, but this guy's going to be locked up forever. His case will probably take at least 3 years to litigate. He'll stay at MDC. There's rumors that he wants to go to Essex County Jail in New Jersey. because he
New
doesn't
Jersey,
like
right.
NBC. He's a
Okay.
Marshals inmate. There's no way they're going to transfer him back and forth. I don't know, several times a week, 6 marshals to do
New
it.
Jersey.
He's out of luck.
I'm going to have you back. I'm going to have you back. I have so many more questions for you, but we've got a lot of breaking news in this show. So Larry Levine.
Diddy's lawyers are advising him to consider a plea deal in light of the overwhelming evidence against him. He has already acknowledged that he participated in illegal activities at his parties, as well as the fact that prosecutors have produced hundreds of hours of video from his Miami mansion and the testimony of more than 50 witnesses. Given the volume of incriminating evidence, legal experts say Diddy's only practical choice is to confess in an attempt to negotiate a reduced sentence.
Back to Cardella Smith's filing. His notice says that Jennifer Lynn Lopez, aka J-Lo, aka Jenny from the Block, quote, will be called as a material witness and expert to Sean Combs' viewing, possession, and distribution of his sexual assault on the plaintiff in 1997, and the orders of defendant Sean Combs forcing Jennifer Lopez to remain silent about the videotaped sexual assault plaintiff by defendant. The plaintiff states that the material witness Jennifer Lynn Lopez, also known as J-Lo and Jenny from the Block, was engaged in a relationship with the defendant Sean Combs during 1999 and 2001, and that the sexual assault plaintiff was recorded, distributed, and held by the defendant at his New York residence and recording studio. And during the relationship with Jennifer Lopez, she was made privy to this video that was taken by Sean Combs and his employee Kirk Burrows. She, J-Lo, has known this video existed and was in existence and took no action to make it known to anyone in law enforcement, and that she was even questioned by New York Police Detective Derek Palmer about this matter, and that the report will show that her answers to this tape was and still remains a resounding yes to its existence. And again, Cardella Smith writes that he wants to call Officer Derek Palmer as a witness because he says Palmer is the one who questioned Lopez and believes that he will have testimony that could help his case. As I mentioned, Diddy's legal team has called for this entire case to be thrown out. Cardella Smith has filed a massive response to that request that totaled more than 200 pages. Probably half of it was just straight up copies of case law that seems to support his arguments, word for word. It's something of like a legal textbook. There's so much to slog through, but I kind of want to give you some of the highlights. So first, in addition to the claims of a cover-up, Cardella Smith also claims and alleges that Combs was violent towards his loved ones. At times, Cardella Smith addresses alleged threats against his family. Other times, he says Combs actually caused serious injuries to his brother. His response reads, defendant used threats of murder to force the plaintiff to not bring the case to any court of law enforcement until the homes of the defendant were raided by Homeland Security, that the plaintiff knew it was a safe time to bring the case, and that is why we are here at this juncture. And Cardella Smith argued that fear for his own safety and the safety of his family is one of the main reasons that he waited so long to report the alleged, and says that that reason alone should override any issue with this statute of limitations, that these claims might otherwise be time barred. And he also argues that while he's been in prison, fellow inmates and prison guards have threatened him on behalf of Sean Combs.
While he struggles to cope with his situation, Diddy's family has stopped coming to see him. His business empire has fallen apart, he has lost industry contacts, and he seemed much thinner during his most recent bail hearing. He is not an experienced criminal and knows what happens to those who molest children while they are incarcerated. Diddy's recent breakdowns, which show the toll that prison life takes, suggest that he may be getting close to his breaking.
You know, for years, P. Diddy's gotten a whole pass. He's actually created his own kingdom where he makes his own rules. You got to follow his rules or you get penalized. And guess what, Laura? He's now in a federal penitentiary, and for the first time in his life, he's facing his own fate at the hands of somebody else. And I will tell you, Laura, I've done federal cases. That's not the place you want to be in federal court. 90% of federal criminal indictments brought down are pled out, right? A plea deal is brought. And of the only 10% left, 90% of those defendants that go to trial, they lose. So he is looking at a daunting uphill battle to fight these horrible charges.
Now, Brian, one of the DHS agents involved in this raid on his Miami mansion described what he saw inside the house, saying that, in my opinion, he's as bad as Epstein. These women are young, either barely legal or barely illegal. Brian, this sounds like he was a monster.
Yeah, Laura, I will tell you that this indictment was very detailed, by the way, too. Your viewers should know there were over 300 subpoenas served, over 50 witnesses interviewed. Why is that important? Because the federal prosecutors aren't going to be leveling an indictment like this unless they have ammunition and they have cause to bring it. And the core issue at this case, which the feds have to prove, which it's looking like they can, is that P. Diddy essentially controlled these women. That he threatened them with stopping the money that he was paying them, that he spiked their drinks with, that's been alleged in the indictment, and that he basically told them, I'm going to ruin your life unless you engage in these freak-offs. And that's really what the prosecutors got to prove. And if you've got some victims coming forward to talk about that, you've got financial records that prove that, travel itinerary that proves that, P. Diddy has very little defense. And I got to tell you, Laura, if this guy wants to fight these charges, he's going to have to step up and walk into a courtroom and talk about it. If he doesn't testify in this case, he is dead on arrival.
Well, who else is on these tapes? I mean, will the tapes ever see the light of day? I mean, that's what everybody's talking about. Who else is there? It's like with the Epstein, his pleasure island. Who else? Who went? Who was there? What's the manifest? But Brian, chances 1 being least likely, 10 being most likely. Will we learn of other celebrities that were at these freak-offs?
Yeah, I think you've got an 8 or a 9 for a likelihood you're going to hear about it. Why? Because there are going to be more indictments coming down, Laura. That's an important point here, because he's being charged with racketeering and conspiracy. You're going to have, let's start on the inner circle. You're going to have former bodyguards. You can possibly have former musicians that he was with. You've got personal assistants that are going to be, they're already talking about this. Some of those are likely to be charged. And then guess what? If you've got some music moguls that are sending women over to these alleged freak-offs, then you've got some top people that are going to start crumbling too, because they're all part of what's called this criminal enterprise.
Jay-Z and J-Lo are the first well-known people to be named in the ongoing proceedings against Diddy and his co-conspirators, but former federal prosecutors warn additional names could surface. Numerous well-known individuals may suffer grave consequences, such as increased incarcerations and potential worldwide impact if Diddy confesses.
Interesting too, because this time around, Diddy was brought in first. He was brought in about a couple minutes after 2 p.m. today, and we were all kind of waiting to see. We had heard mumblings that his mom might be in courtroom, that we were waiting for the children, but then nothing happened. But then, in another twist and turn, the children do walk in, but this time it was a lot smaller bunch than it was the last time. So last time you were having all of Diddy's children, with the exception of Love, who is just a 2-year-old child, so she wasn't at court, but you had all of Diddy's children there except Love. But this time around, you just had Justin Combs and Christian Combs, meaning that there was no Quincy there today. Delilah and Jesse weren't there. Chance wasn't there, and the caretakers of his younger children who aren't of age just yet, they were not present inside the courtroom as well today. But his mom also wasn't in court today. So when Diddy came inside, it was still that standard issued NBC jumpsuit. He's wearing khaki. From that video of, I think that was obtained by Daily Mail back in September, of Diddy playing hacky sack in Central Park, to now he appeared just astonishingly thinner, which you can expect to be inside a federal detention center for a couple months now. A lot different from the luxury lifestyle that he was living before, but he appeared very noticeably thinner, and maybe being locked up in detention is starting to wear on him. He appeared grayer a little bit as well too, but again, he appeared just like how you would expect Diddy to appear for a hearing.
That makes sense. But you know Diddy personally, do you think it's possible he might take his life?
It takes a certain individual to prepare himself to do a lot of years in jail. From the lifestyle that he had, I'm not saying that he can't. I just don't see him able to do time behind bars. Maybe if he be in a camp type situation, that's a possibility. But based on the lifestyle and what he's done and what he's accomplished, if he had to go behind those bars for a lot of years, I think that he make him he do an Epstein.
Beyonce and Jay-Z, who have a combined net worth of over $1 billion, are charged with participating in Diddy's controversial actions. There are reports that Beyonce was seen with Jay-Z at one of Diddy's well-known parties, even though Jay-Z's lawyers say the matter is too old to prosecute. The case will proceed under closer scrutiny, Annalisa Torres